I'm Ellis Martin. Join me now for a conversation with Jerome Jabbour, CEO and Director of Matinas Biopharma, trading as MTNB on the New York Stock Exchange. Matinas Biopharma is a clinical stage biopharmaceutical company focused on enabling the delivery of life-changing medicines using its lipid nano-crystal LNC platform technology. Jerry, welcome back to the program.
Ellis, thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be back.
If you don't mind, Jerry, give us an overview of the company for those that are just joining us for the first time.
Sure. Ellis, the last time we were together, we talked about what is really driving our company forward for the last couple of years, and that's a platform delivery technology, a lipid nano-crystal delivery technology, which we apply to everything from small molecules all the way to complex nucleic acid polymers in the gene therapy area, things like messenger RNA, and even gene editing technologies like CRISPR. But what I really think your audience would benefit from hearing about today is actually the product upon which this company was founded. And given some recent developments in the cardiovascular space, just in the last 48 hours, we find ourselves sitting on an asset which we believe has significant value to patients, but also to our stockholders, now that it seems that omega-3s are going to be recognized as more than just supplemental therapy. They have the potential to become a driving force in the treatment of cardiovascular disease.
Now, by driving force, you mean pretty much revolutionary in the space. And many of us are familiar with omega-3s, fatty acids. Why is this so crucial with regard to omega-3 as opposed to other treatments for cardiovascular issues, which many families are familiar with, especially with the lifestyle that we lead here in the West?
Yeah, Alice, that's a great question. And it's actually a question we wrestled with, or actually I wrestled with colleagues at a company called Reliant Pharmaceuticals, where we medicalized the first prescription omega-3. Everyone has heard about omega-3s for a long time and associated them with good health, but they traditionally thought of them as over-the-counter supplements. And so when we actually launched the first prescription omega-3 at a company called Reliant Pharmaceuticals in 2005, we had an opportunity to educate the public that we're not talking about crude fish oil here. What we're really talking about is highly purified, optimized omega-3 fatty acids. And it's those fatty acids that have the ability to regulate certain biomarkers in the body and have a positive impact on things like triglycerides, which are fat in the blood, and even on other cardiovascular biomarkers. And we took that product at Reliant called Lovesa and sold it to GlaxoSmithKline in 2008 for $1.65 billion, and yet we were just scratching the surface of the potential for omega-3s. And it seems that a company called Amarin, because of its initiative and its perseverance in pushing its omega-3 through, earlier this week announced positive outcomes data. And that's really important and, as you say, revolutionary in the cardiovascular space, because it's a demonstration in thousands of patients that this type of therapy can have a statistically significant impact on the reduction of things like heart attack and strokes. And for years, no one wanted to believe that omega-3s could raise to the level of things like statin therapy in having such a robust impact on cardiovascular disease. But when Amarin announced yesterday morning that its drug had a 25% reduction on top of statin therapy of these cardiovascular outcomes, the world paid attention, and the world rewarded and the market rewarded Amarin for its perseverance by taking its market cap up more than 300% to now over $4 billion.
And I think the market actually rewarded Matinas.
You only get rewarded in biotech and by your investors when you have not just relevance to a particular product category, but in our case, our legacy, our foundation in Matinas was built on designing for the first time a drug to treat cardiovascular disease, an omega-3 to treat cardiovascular disease. And so MAT 9001, which is the product that this company was started on, is benefiting from Amarin's momentum and Amarin's data. And that usually doesn't happen simply by association. And in our case, in 2015, we had the foresight and the risk tolerance to do a head-to-head study against Amarin's Vascepa, where we showed that we were statistically superior to Vascepa on 4 out of the 6 biomarkers used in that study. And so investors are starting to take notice of that data and realizing that we are sitting on a potential best-in-class drug as Amarin has seen itself vault to a $4 billion market cap company.
All right. Well, your current shareholders and investors, they see where this is going, but let's talk to the people that are not shareholders right now, that are just hearing the story for the first time, and maybe a few of the folks that are investors that need a reminder. What is the strategy going forward? Where does this lead for Matinas specifically?
It's a great question. So essentially, we're sitting on a phase 2 asset which has the profile of being a best-in-class drug. And, the only roadmap or the best roadmap for investors to look at is what happened with the statin market. And the statin market in the 80s was very hot. And you had a drug that Merck sold called Zocor. And Zocor was one of the best statins at the time. And it had not only good results in a phase 3 study, but had outcomes data which showed a benefit. And it grew to be a multi-billion-dollar product. And then you had a little product called Lipitor. And Lipitor, although it came later than Merck's Zocor, had a better profile. It was 11% more effective at reducing bad cholesterol than Merck's Zocor. And Pfizer, even in the absence of outcomes data, took that Lipitor product and turned it into an $11 billion a year product. So here we find ourselves decades later in very much the same position as Warner Lambert and Pfizer did. We are sitting behind a company in Amarin, which is plowing the road and is creating a new class of drugs. Some are saying that this drug is worth upwards of $5 billion a year in sales. And we're sitting there on the basis and the foundation of head-to-head data against that drug that shows we're 300% more effective at reducing triglycerides, that we actually have a positive effect on impacting things like PCSK9, and our profile has demonstrated head-to-head that it's superior than a drug the analysts today are saying is worth $5 billion. And investors are just catching on. That data is publicly available, and all of a sudden we have an asset which is sitting and looking like it could be the Lipitor of a new omega-3 class.
Which is something that could be prescribed to, let's say, people like me with a family history of heart disease and people that are over 50 and 60 years of age, correct?
That's correct. I mean, you're really looking at people who have triglyceride levels over 200, who have other sort of symptoms of heart disease, and that addressable patient population is between 30 and 40 million patients in this country. It's an enormous opportunity to solve a pretty complex and important unmet medical need.
So down the road, are you a takeout candidate?
Ellis, in this business, you position yourself by driving value, and we find ourselves now in the optimal position of having two really distinct and valuable assets. On the one hand, we're driving our platform delivery technology forward, and on the other hand, we're sitting on an asset in phase 2 that has the potential to be a blockbuster omega-3 product. We're opportunistic. We are evaluating a lot of opportunities on how to take that drug forward. You can imagine that the interest, now that Amarin has demonstrated that omega-3s can be viewed as true blockbusters and the opportunity to treat 40 million patients, there's going to be a lot of opportunity to bring in funds to either push that drug forward ourselves or take advantage of the interest of parties with substantial experience in commercializing primary care products and find the ideal partner either in the U.S. or on a global basis. So this data is new. It's fresh. It just came out yesterday morning. We're digesting it at the same time the market is, but we're excited by the opportunity we have, and we expect in the coming weeks and months that the value associated with MAT 9001 will only grow.
Let's talk about the board of this company, because it's pretty impressive.
The one thing you look at when you see our company and our market cap, which somehow, some way is under $100 million at this point. We don't expect it to be there for long, but you don't see a microcap or a small cap board. Chairman of our company is a guy named Herb Conrad. He's the former president of Roche, former chairman of Pharmasset. He sold that company to Gilead for $11 billion in 2011. And just recently, we're thrilled to add Patrick Lepore to our board as vice chairman. Patrick has a distinguished career in the pharmaceutical industry, a great track record of success. Most recently, he was chairman and CEO of a company called Par Pharmaceutical. He sold that to TPG and took it private in a $2 billion transaction, and then stayed on as chairman and steered it to an $8 billion exit to Endo in the last few years. And so we are slowly but surely adding the pieces here to really develop this company and grow it into what we believe can be a significant value driver in the biotech and pharma space.
You know, when we first met back in August and did our first interview, the company was trading at around 30 cents. I'm a little gray on that, but 30, 35, somewhere in that area. We've seen some very good moves in the market since then, and still, you're a microcap company. You're not a mid-tier company. There's still potential upside. We don't want to speculate, but it certainly isn't a bad time to consider taking a look at Matinas.
Without question, Ellis, and I'm always very conservative in how I view our company, but I'm intent on creating value. And so, yes, in August, that's the level that we were at, and look how far we've come in a very short period of time. And none of the things that I forecast for you there in terms of the opportunity with our delivery platform, the strategic collaborations and the interest we have from companies in utilizing our technology to improve the profile of their drugs, nor taking into effect the progress we're making on our own portfolio in the anti-infective space, has really taken root yet in our share price. So we're excited by our start to the fall. There's a long way left in 2018. We expect to continue to drive news flow. We're excited by each day and week that passes because I can see through our windshield here that there's a lot in front of us. We think investors will be very happy in coming along with us for the ride. But again, we're focused on driving value and growth and creating opportunities, most importantly for patients, but also for the stockholders who believe in us.
Well, Jerry, it's always a pleasure to speak with you. I look forward to more developments as they happen down the road. Thank you so much for joining me today on the program.
Ellis, thanks as always. Take care and look forward to next time.
I've been speaking with Jerome Jabbour, CEO and Director of Matinas Biopharma, trading as MTNB on the New York Stock Exchange. Find them at matinasbiopharma.com. I'm Ellis Martin.